in the Pickle Barrel, and we'd love to have you here. And I tell you what, I'm excited about the week coming up. We've got so much to talk about. It's unreal. And I think that as we go along, you'll find out that there's a lot of us that really do know that we're in the pickle barrel. We really do know that we are in deep trouble. And we know that we are the only ones that can pull us out. Congress can't do it. They've already proven it. They've already proven they won't do it. And we're going to be talking about that a lot this morning and several other topics. And if you would, spread the word on your links that we are live on air right now. Come over and join us. Or go to AmericanPatriotRadio.com, our website, and join the group and get caught up and take part in the chat room there on that site. We got so many different ways you can see us and listen to us. As a matter of fact, before we even get started, I would like, Dave, are you here this morning?
Yeah, he is.
Hey, here's Dave. Dave is our guru in charge of all the technology. I mean, you know, I am one smart fellow in my own mind. But when it comes to technology, he's the man. And I want you, Dave, would you bring everybody up to date on some of the recent changes that we've made in ways they can participate in this program and other programs on American Patriot Radio?
Well, I believe you're referring to the YouTube channel is up and running. Videos have already been added there. And from now on, you're going to be hearing the archives from Bill Pickle and, of course, Candy's show and Jackie's shows and all will be over there on YouTube. So you will have the video feed as well as the actual program.
All right, all right. Those are up and running. That's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And so not only can you hear us live, if the need ever be that you can't be here live with us, you can go back and check it all out on American Patriot Radio, go to YouTube or whatever. And we're just trying to make it easy for everyone on this globe to see and hear us. After all, ask us. We are the best network there is, AmericanPatriotRadio.com. All right. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I did. I tell you what, one busy weekend. I was in Columbia all day Saturday. And just taking care of a lot of different things. I tell you what, sometimes I wonder what the word retirement really means. I think it means you work harder except on things that you prefer to work on. I think that's the only thing it means in real life. But we do have a lot to talk about, so let's get started here. All right, today in history, I would like to go back and look at what happened a little bit here. In 1782, General George Washington authorizes the award of the Purple Heart for soldiers wounded in combat. That is still one of the most, I don't know how to say it other than say honorable awards that are given today to our military is to those who were wounded are killed in duty, in the line of duty. These people put their lives up for stake every day for us, and you may not realize it. You don't always know what's going on behind the scenes, but there are people out there today putting their lives on the line for us as we speak. And I think that's one of the most honorable awards that anyone can get. It's just thank you to all the veterans and all the active duty people that are wearing those. And thank you for your service and the idea that you would put your life out there for us. In 1864, Union troops captured part of the Confederate General Jubal Early's army in Moorefield, West Virginia. In 1888, now this has got to do with business, but it's funny how you never think about these things. But in 1888, Theophilus Van Cannel of Philadelphia receives a patent for the revolving door. You know, those doors you walk in, they go around and around and around. You know, I used to, as a kid, used to get in those things and just play. I mean, I was weird. I'd get in that thing and just play and help people come in. Well, my mom and dad, they'd be out shopping or didn't even know where I was probably, but I would like to play in those things. In 1906, in North Carolina, a mob defies court order and lynches 3 African Americans, which becomes known as the Lyerly Murders. In 1916, Persia, boy, I tell you what, that name's lost in history, forms an alliance with Britain and Russia. In 1922, the Irish Republican Army cuts the cable link between the United States and Europe at the Waterville landing station. Just cut us off. I mean, just like, hey, you don't exist anymore. 1934 in Washington, D.C. Now, listen to this. The Supreme Court of Appeals rules that the government can neither confiscate nor ban James Joyce's novel Ulysses. They want to ban a novel. 1936, United States declared non-intervention in the Spanish Civil War. Guadalcanal, folks, big battle, costly battle in World War II. 1942, on this date, the U.S. 1st Marine Division under General A. Vandergrift lands on the islands of Guadalcanal and Tulagi in the Solomon Islands. This is the first American amphibious landing of the war. A couple of years later, German forces launched a major counterattack against U.S. forces in France. Wow. What a day for war. Gulf of Tonkin. Congress overwhelmingly passes Gulf of Tonkin resolution, allowing the president to use unlimited military forces to prevent U.S. attacks. 1966, we lost 7 planes in North Vietnam, the most in the war up to that point. 1973, U.S. planes accidentally bombed Cambodian village, killing 400 civilians. And the list goes on for different actions of war on this day in history. Wow. Desert Shills even on this day in history. It's just a busy day for war. Well, I tell you what, we got other things to talk about, so let's get to it and talk about some of the things at hand. Okay. All right. First of all, as you know, we have a president that people love. They love to hate. They hate to love. And either way you can put in it, you can put /love/hate, hate/love, or whatever. And the whole idea of this has already gotten to the point, really, truly, where the 2020 election is off and running. There are already a number of people out there that are laying the groundwork. They may not say they are, but they are in their actions and their speeches. There are governors out there right now that are in trouble keeping their seats. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the crackdown, as some put it, that Sessions is going to make in the future, starting today. He's going to be breaking down on a bunch of things, trying to control things. We're going to be talking about the transformation of the American dream. And we're going to talk about these and many other things as long as we have time to do it. But we're going to get started right now and go where it might just lead us to where we're heading, okay? So, stakes at governors. You know, this is one I think is going to be one of the most important election years for governors in recent history. And I say that for several reasons. Stakes are very high, folks. Stakes are extremely high right now for these gubernatorial races. It is almost impossible to even think about what all is going on. You know, you got Lieutenant Governor Ralph Norman, a Democrat from Virginia. You've got Governor Charlie Baker, a Republican from Maine, Scott Walker, of course, from Wisconsin, and Governor Tom Wolf of Pennsylvania. Now you've got 2 Republicans and two Democrats there. I should have noticed that or mentioned that to you as I was talking there. Northam and Wolf are the Democrats from Virginia and Pennsylvania. Maine and Wisconsin, you have Charlie Baker, Scott Walker. These are very important races, folks. The stakes are very high in these states. You know, there's actually 38 races, 15 months of redistricting fights looming for both parties. You put all this stuff together, and we've got one tough election season coming up. And that's terrible to say that this is the way it is, but it is. 38 gubernatorial races over the next 15 months. Republicans will need to defend 27 of those seats. 27 of 38. Now then, we're having a hard time for the conservatives right now to keep their head above water within their own party in Washington. Now just think what's going to happen when, because I'm not sure which way this is going to play out right now. But what's going to happen if the governors in some of those states are flipped? You know, with a race like these, and with that many of them up, that could make some big changes in what's going on in the House and Senate. And the reason for that is turnout. You know, some of these other seats are going to be up at the same time. And if you have a huge turnout in favor of the Republican candidate, normally that will trend over to the congressional races and any Senate races that might be coming up. Vice versa, if you have a huge turnout of Democrats and Republicans, conservatives do not get off their doofuses and go vote, chances are they're going to be hurt. And we all know right now we need all the support we can get. If you're on the conservative side, you're saying this. We need all of the conservatives wherever we can get them. We have got to get a strong conservative base if we're going to keep that conservative base that we have right now, because right now, folks, it is very hot. It is almost to the melting point in some of these areas. West Virginia Governor Jim Justice announced that he was leaving the Democrat Party, if you remember, last week and returning to the Republican Party. And that move highlighted once again the dominance of the GOP at the state level. And you can see by the number of states, 38 of them over the next 15 months. So you see the dominance right now. A lot of these states are what we would call purple states. You know, there's a large contingency of Democrats and Republicans both that are out there. And believe me, depending on who gets the most voters out at that time will be the ones who will ultimately have the governorship in that state. And talk about trickle down, that will trickle down also to other elections. You know, I think it'd be very scary right now to be on anybody's ticket, because Democrats aren't doing a whole lot better, my friends. Democrats are just about as bad, or they're just about as deep in the pickle barrel as the rest of us. So it's going to be very interesting, very, very interesting. You know, when justices switch, announced Thursday at a rally with President Donald Trump, Republicans now hold 34 of the 50 governorships, okay? 34 of 50. And that is, if I remember correctly, that is tying a record. I think that's the most we've ever had at one time. and the president at the same time. So, we're in a very good position as far as conservatives go at this point. But Democrats who at the beginning of the Obama presidency held 28 governorships have seen their ranks dwindle to just the 15 that are out there. At some point, at one point during the last, decade, Republican governors had 46 of the 50. So, with a strong governorship base, which ultimately, in most cases, you would have stronger control in the Senate and House. If we start losing these under today's political climate, where will that take us? Where will that put us? The state governments right now are even more lopsided within the states themselves. I'm talking about the state house or assembly, whatever they call it in their state, and the state senates. We right now, according to Republican Governors Association, excuse me, there has been a governor in 46 of the 50 states in the last decade, which is strong. However, for Democrats, this loss of power in the states is both cause for alarm and some reason for hope. Now, let me explain why I say that. You see, whenever you're so far behind, you only have one way to go, don't you? And they have been behind. And with the turmoil that we have going on right now, there are people out there on both sides of the fence, folks. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. There's people on both sides of the fence that are saying enough is enough. We got to make some changes. And unless the Republicans, excuse me, the GOP have some very strong people out there running, excuse me, folks, let me excuse me just a second. If we don't have some very strong people out there running in these races, they may look at some of these people in these states may look at the cards that lie before them and say, look, we have no choice. It's either this guy over here or gal over here that we really don't like, or we get another one of those hateful, resentful, nasty Republicans. And, the Republicans say the same thing about the Democrats, so don't go berserk that I'm saying that the Republicans are crazy and all that. The Democrats are just as crazy. But they don't want any more of the crazy Republicans. They may have to settle for a crazy Democrat. And if it gets to that point where they say, to heck with the Republicans, I don't care who's running. We don't need any more of those jokers. We need to have our own idiots, our own people. Slip of the tongue there. We don't need our own idiot. I did it again. All right, let's just say it. We don't need our own idiots. We got our own, but looks like we're going to have more of them. If we're going to have any control, we're going to have to forget about wanting perfect. We're going to have to quit about wanting okay. We're just going to have to take whoever's running against that Republican. Because the Republicans are off. I mean, they're all, oh man, they bad. And believe me, I hear that chat every day. Yesterday at church, coming out of church, someone was talking. Well, what do you think? You think everybody's going to turn around and dump Trump? Another guy comes walking beside, says, well, I hope not. I hope everybody realizes we got to support Trump. In the parking lot of the church. Actually, we hadn't even got out of the front door of the church when that conversation started. People are tired of what's going on. People are tired. Well, the GOP strategists right now are saying that it is time right now to start working. The Democrats leadership is saying now is past time to start working. We got to get going. You know, the GOP, though, I really do believe this, folks. I believe the GOP strategists believe that they must prepare for a political climate like that of 2006, when the Republicans lost the House and surrendered their majority among governors. They foresee that possibility happening. And Lord help us if that takes place. Again, the reason for that is the House members. The House members, number one. Because you have more of them. They come up for election every 2 years. And during a normal 4-year governor term, or 8 years if reelected, if we have a change in the number of governors that are elected and reelected, you see there's 8 years there that could be where we could have more Democrat elected in House and Senate races. It's kind of like that, you know, rolling a rubber ball down the steps. You know, it picks up steam. It picks up speed. It bounces higher as they have more time to do just that. Hypothetical. That's all this is at this point. But I will tell you this. It scares the bejesus out of me. Because, well, let's just face it. Right now, the Republicans, the GOP, with one of the strongest positions we could possibly have in a very long time, instead of taking care of business and doing what needs to be done, supporting a president, which I don't always agree with. No way do I always agree with him. And, you know, I was hoping we'd have a different person as president, but we don't. He is the president of the United States. He may be an independent / small GOP, but he is the president that we elected. And so, therefore, folks, he's our president. And the GOP need to start working with the president. The president needs to start working with the GOP instead of making that separation between the two wider. They need to think about throwing a grappling hook out there on both sides, and both sides of them start pulling that grappling hook rope closer together. And one person can't do it. The president can't do it by himself. The state senators can't do it by themselves. The state's congressmen can't do it by themselves. It's going to take the senators, the House members, on one side of the curtain pulling that grappling hook they threw out. It's going to take the president and his team over here on the other side pulling the rope of their grappling hook and bring them together so we have, hey, look at that. They're touching. They're working together. The hole is plugged. Maybe that's what we need to start thinking about. You know, I think a year from now, after the next election, you know, the election where some of these governors will be replaced, maybe, it's going to be interesting to see what takes place. With 10 Democrat seats up, 27 Republican seats, and 1 independent seat, it's going to be very interesting. Very interesting. You know, I think that if the atmosphere continues and if Congress enacts major legislation, if they don't get that kind of stuff done, look for Republican gubernatorial candidates to distance themselves from Washington. The signals, the signs are already there. There's more and more governors that are either not making remarks about the president and Congress, or they're shooting them down. Seriously, stop and look at all of them. Don't look at your particular state. Don't look at the ones, and don't listen just to what you like to listen to. Listen and read other areas of opinion and news, and you'll get more of a true understanding what's taking place countrywide. The 2020 election is off and running, folks. It is off and running big time. Big time. Neil in the chat room, Kasich. Kasich is out there. And at this point in time, Neil, I would say that unless something really comes out strong, Kasich will probably be on that list again this year to run for POTUS. I do believe he will. And there's several others out there too. There's several of them out there. Someone asked me earlier on Facebook, did I think Graham would run again? I don't think so, but I would not bet money against it, okay? I don't think so, but I won't bet money. And there's others out there also. Okay, Neil also says, our system of every 2 years is insane. Might have 1 year to govern. The other is running for office. Can't do anything in 1 year of governing, and that might affect vote. You're absolutely right, Neil. I think that it is very difficult. See, there's the problem when you elect new people, especially in Congress. Especially in Congress. You know, their election comes up and you know, in more often, and you got to run. And, you know, 4 years, you know, in Congress, you know, your first year is nothing. If you've never been there before, you're a lost chicken in a hen. You're lost. I mean, you just don't know what's going on. It does take a while to get accustomed to it. Same with even your state. It's not quite as difficult, but it's still extremely difficult your first year. You're learning the system. You're learning the protocols. You're learning who the leadership really is. And a lot of times, folks, the leadership is not the visible person you think it is. There's people behind the scene pulling those ropes. And that's those things you got to learn also. And so, you know, it's very difficult. And unless somebody, and I've said this more than once, unless somebody is really messing up, they've really pee-peed in their Wheaties or something, you know, a congressman is someone that needs to be given a longer chance to get associated and familiar with what's going on. In the state houses, your house seats, your not your state senate, but the state representatives, you know, they need to have time too. You got to have them have a chance to get that learning curve. It may hurt you. You may think, oh God, what did I do? Why did I put this person in there? Don't they know anything? Probably not. Seriously, probably not. They have probably not been involved at that level, and you can see that that is not a good place to be. And so you know, they've got to learn. I admire those people that are involved in the system in other areas. For instance, those that are involved in the county party, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. I admire those people who are active in the county party. they take the trips down to Columbia, our state capital, or whatever capital your state house is in. You know, I admire those people that get involved and go down there and watch the sessions. You know, get in the balcony and watch the House, the state representatives, get in the balcony and watch the state Senate while they're in action. Talk to people down there. Invite them to come to places in your home area to talk to people and explain what's going on. See, that's why it's important to be involved in your local party. You learn more about the ins and outs. You learn who is really in there playing the game. You learn who knows something, who's an idiot, etc., etc. There's a reason to get involved in your local parties. After all, the people are the ones with the strength if you work together. The problems are varied why people don't. You know, people don't have time. They think. They have time for other things, but don't have time to be involved in what governs their life or makes their life good or bad, that affects their income, their health care. They got time for all the other stuff, but not that. Oh, what happens, happens. You know, I'm going to take care of my family. Well, part of taking care of your family is taking care of those that made pass bills and idiotic things that could affect your family ultimately. It's a big vicious circle, folks. It's a big vicious circle. You know, I think the real test, though, well, I'm going to back up. You know, I think this year, Democrats have a chance to make some headway. I do not think that they will have enough to make any significant differences in this election, the 2018 election. I don't. However, if things continue the way they are right now, Katie barred the door on 2020. Their vision may be more toward the 2020 range. All of our vision may be 2020 come 2020. And we all might say, man, did we mess up? We need to make some huge changes. And I tell you right now, I truly believe this, just narrowly, I think the Democrats understand that much more than the Republicans, in my humble opinion. See, we've got this loyalty factor right now. And, you know, and I think that this loyalty factor to a president that many of them do not trust, do not like, is preventing them from being who they really want to be. For instance, an example, there's a lot of people that have backed out of the parties, local parties. They're not active. They say to hell with it. I mean, this is idiotic. I mean, we're no better off than we were. Just scratch my name off the list. I got other things to take care of. And that's the way it is in some instances right now. And if that doesn't change, 2020 could be a disastrous year. Listen to me, folks. I'm not trying to be a fear monger or a hate monger. I'm just telling you what I think. I think if you think the GOP, the conservatives, let's just say conservatives as a whole, whether you're an independent conservative, a left of center Republican conservative, or hardcore, right now with the way things are, we are on very soft ice in the Antarctic. Our climate change is taking place right now within the conservative movements. Our ice age is here right now. Our global warming is here right now. Now, here's why I say both of those. You see, I think that a lot of people have put this, oh, what's that show on TV? I love it. I love it. I love it. The North, the Wall, oh, goodness gracious. Just went blank. Just went blank. Anyway, the TV show where they have the wall, the dead people coming across, you know which one I'm talking about. Just went blank. Oh, Lordy. I hate when I do that. Anyway, I think our ice age is here. We have frozen ourselves like snowmen, afraid to make a move. I think that we are scared. I think we are afraid that we ourselves may make mistakes. We may vote or support the wrong person. I think we are afraid that we have no one out there that we can support that could really do the change. I think that we're afraid. We're afraid. We're scared. And as history has proven to us over and over and over again, the scared, the extremely frightened, usually don't do anything to save themselves. They just huddle up and wait for something to take place. And I think that's where we are right now. We're seeing more and more people backing off. I have seen more people in the last year that have been involved in local politics, in state politics, say, I'm fed up with it, Bill. I'm just fed up with it. So, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Well, first of all, we, the people, have to wake up. We have to throw some ice water on our face and say, okay, wake up, look around you, listen to what's going on. Because we do have House seats, we do have Senate seats coming up. And believe it or not, folks, 2020 is going to be here before you know it. Do you know that this year is well over half over, that fall is rapidly approaching? Fall is not that far off. I mean, my God, we're almost through the middle of August already. The 2020 race is up on us right now. If you don't believe it, in honesty, folks, face it, reality, it started the day after the elections this last year. You know, Democrats, their best hopes are, you know, there's several blue states out there that will be, let's see, Maine, let's see, is one of them, Illinois. Illinois, it's hard to believe is a blue state, but it really is. There's several others of them out there. There's about a dozen of them that are considered possible takeover by the GOP. Possible. And that's what I'm talking about, not just the coming up election. I'm talking about the next 2 years, okay? There's not 10 this year, but over the next couple of years, there's 10. I think there's actually 15. I really do believe that there is a chance that they could garner those votes. They could. But if they do, it's not because they did great work. And again, I hate to be such a hard nose and down on the conservative parties right now. And when I say conservative parties, you know, there's more than just the Republican Party. You know, there's the centrist, there's the Tea Party. You know, there's all different groups out there. So I'm saying conservatives. there's a lot of conservative groups out there, folks, right now that are biting their nose off to spite their face. There's a lot of Democrats out there doing the same thing. However, the actions and inaction of the conservatives at this point are really breaking the ice around a lot of those more liberal Democrat outfits. They're starting to be more outspoken. They are starting to be more visual, which means they see that crack in the ice and they're wanting to expand it and crawl through it. Are we going to let them do it? Is the conservatives going to let them do that? You know, Pew Research did a poll last month. And in that poll, they said, is life in America today better or worse than it was 50 years ago for people like you? Leaning Republicans in 2016 said it was okay, but worse. Okay? It was okay, but worse. 18% Republicans said it was better. That's 2016. 10% said the same. This year, people leaning Republican, 44% of them are saying it's better, 40% are saying worse. Democrats in 2016 said it was better, 24% worse, 20% said no change. Democrats right now have doubled on the ones that say it's worse. It's over 40%. They're unhappy. They're unhappy like the conservatives were unhappy last year. Will their reaction be the same? Will they find that candidate that they can support and try to make those changes? The clouds, the storm is gathering and coming together, folks. It truly is. It truly is. Okay, let me get caught up on the chat room here real quick. Kasich, piece of crap. Okay. Graham, he's a piece of crap. Okay. Term limits. 1 6-year term with possibility of one more. Stop all this constant campaigning. You can't trash out like Maxine Waters no matter what you say about the vote. If they do what we want, but they don't. They get to D.C., get their suitcase full of cash, as per Dave, and do what they are told to do. And, folks, you know, I hate to say it. I hate to say this, but that's not totally wrong. It's not totally wrong. And we're going to talk about that a little bit here, too, on some things that maybe we need to do to change all of that. Matter of fact, I'm at a good stopping point on this part of the conversation. Let's just talk about that right now. You know, we've heard this Trump rule, you know, the Trump rule. And be honest with you, I don't know who put this out there, and it don't really matter. The bottom line is this. It's out here. And I saw this, and I said, well, this is interesting. This is interesting. The Trump rule, they say, is Trump asking everyone to share this post, which it was shared, and I saw this, and I thought, well, hey, what the heck? I read it. I read it, and I thought, well, okay. Now, here, I want to tell you this. As far as I'm concerned, this should be about either party, not just Republicans, not just the team that's up there now in Congress and in Senate, House and Senate. This probably should be considered for everybody. Some of them are silly, but some of them are serious. 1, no tenure, no pension. A congressman or congresswoman, if you want to be politically correct, I say congressman, to heck with it. Everybody knows what you mean. Collects a salary while in office and receives no pay when they're out of office. In other words, they get a salary, but they don't get any salary or retirement or anything like that once they leave office. Congress, past, present, future, should be switched to participating in the Social Security. Hey, if it's good enough for us, why isn't it good enough for them, right? All funds in the Congressional Retirement Fund move to the Social Security system immediately, and all future funds flow through the Social Security system, and Congress participates with the American people in the same plan that the American people have. It may not be used for any other purpose. So you move that money over there. It's in the retirement systems right now for them. Make it part of Social Security, and they live on the same basic guidelines that we do. Wouldn't that be neat? They said Congress can purchase their own retirement plan, just as all Americans. I like that. Congress will no longer vote themselves a pay raise. Congressional pay will rise by the lower of the CPI or 3%. I like that. Put them on the same scale as most other people. Nifty idea. Maybe Congress should no longer take part in the current healthcare system and make them, not ask them to, as some do, some have, but make all of them participate in the same health care system as the American people have to take part in. That might open their eyes to some of the issues out there if it affects them. Again, isn't it funny how that happens? Congress must equally abide by all laws they impose on the American people. Another good idea. Some say they do, by the way, but reality, yeah. All contracts with past and present congressmen, women, are void effective 5/1/17. We've already missed that. They didn't do it. But it's not a bad idea. Maybe we can revise that to, say, October 1st of this year. You know, the American people did not make this contract with congressmen. Congress made all these contracts for themselves. Serving Congress is an honor, not a career. You know, I wish that the American people would realize that. Folks, you have the ability to prevent it from being a career today. All you got to do is have someone out there that's willing to take their place and support them. That's all there is to it. I keep hearing this time limit, time limit, time limit, time limit. If you want time limits, pass it. I don't care. But why pass another piece of legislation that doesn't need to pass? Vote the suckers out. What you're saying is that we don't care enough. We're too lazy. We don't want to take the time to do it. So let's take the easy way out and just put it in writing. 4 years, one re-election time. That's it. No more. Whatever. You know, I got to go back. You know, our founding fathers, and this is not rocket science. This is easy to understand. And most of you understand this. You know, our founding fathers envisioned citizen legislators. They envisioned people like you and me getting involved, going down there and doing what we thought was right for a few years, 2 years, 4 years, whatever, and getting the heck back home. They envision us going down there you know, taking care of the business at hand, get it all done in a few days, maybe a couple of weeks, going home. You know, I don't think that they really thought of it as a full-time job. Nor do I think that it should be a full-time job. You know, we've got people up there who have the full-time jobs, and that's our president. That's our judiciary. That is our agencies, our Department of Defense, our Department of Interior, blah, 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 right on down the line. Those are the people that should be taking care of day-to-day business, not our congressmen. Not our senators. You know, I have always thought that being able to hold elective office representing the constituents of our city, our district, our state, I've always considered that to be an extremely high honor. I have considered that to be one of the most honorable things you could do. Not a job, not a full-time career. Just knowing I was elected for 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, depending on the office, whether it's city or federal or whatever. An honor to look over my shoulder and see the thousands of people that are relying on me to look out for their best interest and their desires. Me. Not Joe Blow corporate over here, not Joe Jane corporate over here, not those people over in China, Russia, France, Great Britain, Israel, anywhere else, but these people right here, right here. I would consider that a deep, deep honor. I wish everybody would listen to that concept. And we wouldn't have to worry about term limits. And if everybody believed in what I just said, you wouldn't have to worry about term limits, because if someone was breaking that trust, someone was breaking that honor, they'd vote them out of office and get someone else in there to replace them like that. And just like that, we're at the top of the hour, and we're going to take a break here in the Pickle Barrel, and we'll be right back. And I want everybody to go get something to drink. My mouth is dry. I'm on this diet, and I got to drink tons of water, and I've only had like a half a cup so far this morning. So I got to go get me some drink, and we'll be right back here in the Pickle Barrel. We'll pick up right where we left off. Don't run off. I want to hear you when I get back. Take it away, Dave.
D-Rock, everybody, that's right. D-E-E-Rock. Go over to Facebook and look them up. My D-Rock. And also over on Twitter, you can follow it, D-Rock Country. If you love that Patriot music with the country sound, you can't go wrong with D-Rock. Katie's been working hard. Our YouTube channel is up and running. She's been getting everything converted, moved over from Facebook, so you can follow over there. And all the great videos will shortly be little by little, of course, all loaded over to YouTube. So join us at the American Patriot Radio YouTube channel. Follow us, subscribe, click the thumbs up, like us, all that good stuff, and spread the word to your friends. Back to you, Bill.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Hey, everybody, glad to have you back here in the Pickle Barrel, and taking a little short break and coming back and got me some H2O. Candy each morning, coffee with Candy before I am on air at 6 a.m. She has her caffeine. And I'd much rather have that coffee than water. I mean, this is, water, Just look at it. See, you can see right through it. Water is a complete waste of clear liquid. I'd rather have a good margarita, gin and tonic, rum and tonic, anything like that, instead of just plain old water. But the doctor said, Bill, if you're going to do this diet you want to do, and you're going to work that hard on it, I want to see you drinking 160 ounces of water a day. I said, you can float a boat in that much water. He says, I'm more worried about you staying adrift. And I said, oh, okay, I understand that. All right. So anyway, thanks for being back here with us this morning in the Pickle Barrel. We love it that you're here with us. Send out a link. Send the link out to the show on Facebook, on Twitter, whatever. Get people involved in this thing this morning. And every morning, because we want to hear from you. We want to know what your thoughts are, your wishes are, your desires when it comes to topics, and what you want to see happen in the world of politics around us. And to do that, all you got to do is just send the link, right? The link that you see in it right now. Just go up there and copy that link and share it with your friends. Or you can go over to AmericanPatriotRadio.com, get that link and send it. There's so many different ways you can do it. It's unreal. We also got YouTube running now. So there you go. If you can't catch it live, you can get it on YouTube. I'm sorry? Hey, Brian, good morning, sir. How are you? How's beautiful Pennsylvania this morning?
It's great. I saw a tweet last week. It would allow me to read it. It's like one of the greatest quotes that I don't know if you came up with it.
Okay, stage is yours.
This kind of accurately sums up my frustration with all the left wing, and many of whom were anti-war protesters 10, 12 years ago and for peace, and want to impeach George Bush for the Iraq War. And it has everything to do with what's happening today, because these people have turned into the worst kinds of prejudicial, racist Russophones possible. Anyway, only in a shallow, self-absorbed America could a leader drop 26,000 bombs on 7 countries in a single year and have citizens mourning the end of his term because he looked and sounded classy while doing it.
Read that again, and so everybody can understand what you just said. Everybody listen to this.
Only in shallow, self-absorbed America could a leader drop 26,000 bombs on 7 countries in a single year and have citizens mourning the end of his term because he looked and sounded classy while doing it.
How about that? Do you think that everybody's looking classy right now?
See, the thing is, and this is why right away, this is when I knew that the left wing, that these people were, I don't know, brainwashed, frauds, whatever, because they were right about the Iraq War. I came to believe that the Iraq War never should have happened because a lot of left-wing anti-war people. But the second Obama ran, because Obama was more articulate and more cosmopolitan. And even when Obama ran, he was running as anything but a dove. He just said, instead of putting our money and resources into Iraq, and we should focus on Russia and China. In other words, not that he was for peace or a more realistic foreign policy. Anyway, the left thought everything he did hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
So when they ousted Gaddafi, when they ousted the leader in Mubarak in Egypt, when they tried to oust Assad, when they had more drone strikes in Pakistan in 1 year than 8 years under Bush, when they had the big troop surge in Afghanistan, when they knocked over the government in Ukraine, when they bombed the hell out of Yemen, when they bombed 26,000 bombs in 7 countries last year of his presidency.
Yeah.
Because Obama was classy, because he wasn't a Southern Christian type, or I think that's what Bush portrayed him as, and he's more cosmopolitan. He could literally get away with murder. And so it's very superficial. A lot of times people's understanding of politics and what attracts them to a candidate or philosophy, it's very superficial and shallow. And so, what Trump, I don't care that Trump talks like a teamster or truck. His main actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, people say dumb stuff all the time. But you know what? What makes a person more evil? Overthrowing the, the government and the country and getting, thousands or millions of people killed, or saying offensive things.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I mean, I would think that, getting lots and lots of people killed, millions of people killed, and destabilizing an entire region of the world, not just the Middle East, but also Europe, would make you a more evil person.
You're telling me that someone dying? Are you telling me that someone dying at the just because you signed a document said attack or whatever, and is more important than someone liking what you say?
Well, yeah.
Well, what's normal, Brian? That's the question I have anymore. What's normal? I mean, normality is going bonkers.
Yeah, we're redefining normal.
It is. It is.
A boy or a girl based on what your anatomy says you are.
Yeah.
Or it's based on what you feel you are. I mean,
Yeah.
They want to teach little kids that, but the point is that quote is everything that's wrong in politics today.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, it applies to the right wing, a lot of right wing conservatives as well.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
People's understanding is so superficial. Well, he sounds nice.
Mm-hmm.
He inspires me. He's charismatic. But you know what? A lot of times the most dangerous people are smooth talking, charismatic type leaders.
Yeah.
That people get so enthralled with how they say what they say that they don't pay attention to what they're actually saying.
Well, there's another angle of this too, Brian. I think I think that we as Americans, I got a conversation Saturday. I was in Columbia all day, and I got in conversation with a couple of people, and I told them that I think that now this is not just politics. It has to do with politics. Ultimately, you believe it or not, folks, just about everything has to do with politics right now. Our entire life is wrapped up in politics of some form or fashion. It may not be government politics. It may be personal. It may be job, whatever. But, I think that we as a society right now, especially in the last 10 years, I think I have seen this. Maybe I'm just more aware of it, moving on more faster than in the past. I think that we as a society is seeing a transformation among us. I think that, at one time here in America, we thought that mutual respect was something that was very important. And I think we thought it was very polite to have mutual respect for each other and the actions that one takes. We are look at it in a realistic, respectful way. I think that we all thought the equality was important. I think we thought that the equality of opportunity was important. For instance, if something was out there that was for us to reach out for and get, we'd all have the same ability to take part in reaching out. And I think that that goes for not just on jobs or careers or politics. I'm thinking it goes all the way down to just like we said earlier, the mutual respect, success, in family engagement. I think that, maybe, just maybe, this so-called American dream itself has been under attack recently. Does anybody really know what the American dream is anymore?
Well, I think the thing is you use the word American, and these, we have people that run our country in the world that don't believe in the concept of a nation state. If they don't believe in concepts of a nation state, what's the American dream mean to them? And they're the ones that make most of the major decisions.
Yeah, but look, didn't they come over here so they could participate in the American dream?
I just think you're looking at it the wrong way. I mean, to the oligarchs behind the scenes, to the George Soroses of the world, to all these, you know, the deep state, these masters of the universe, they think the nation state's a relic.
Mm-hmm.
They don't believe in the concept of a nation state and nationalism. So they don't believe in the concept of a nation state.
Yeah.
They don't believe in the idea of America or any other
Mm-hmm.
country. And why would they believe in the American dream, or, you know, do things to try to support the idea of an American dream and prosperity for all?
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't even believe in the concept of America. Not because they don't believe in America, they just don't believe in the concept of a nation state. That's
Mm-hmm.
why we have all these problems with Russia and Putin. The problem with Putin is not that he's trying to reform the Soviet Union, it's because he's a nationalist.
Mm-hmm.
Because he looks out for his own country's best interest. And a lot of these oligarchs behind the scenes look out for their own best interest, which transcend borders
Mm-hmm.
and nation states.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this, Brian, and I want to ask everybody this. I'd like to get everybody's input on this. Do you think that the American people as a whole, I'm not talking about just Republicans or Democrats, I'm talking about the American people as a whole, do you think that we are really running out of patience? Are we at a point where we say that there is no hope? We are what we are. We have to wallow in the dirt and the dust and the grime and the grit, the hate, the fear, the discord. You think they've lost all hope in or accepting the America that we have in that respect? Or do you think the majority of the people still think this is a land of opportunity? And folks, let me mention this again, American opportunity. That doesn't mean give it to me. That means you have the opportunity to get it, okay? And I think that's where a lot of people are missing the idea there, Brian. It's not that the American dream is you get what you want. The opportunity is there for you to work to get what you want. And I think that's one thing we might be losing right there. But do you think do you think the American people are running out of patience? Those of us that believed in this great the concept of the American dream, do you think we're running out of patience and getting tired of what's taken on, and we may be ourselves becoming part of the reason for the situation? Because a lot of us said, you know, I'm tired. I've been through this so many times. I'm tired. I'm giving up. Just let what happens happens. I want to enjoy the rest of my life.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are, and whether they're whatever their political persuasion is, or whether I feel they're losing patience for the right reasons and are mad about the right things or the wrong things, I do think that is mostly true. Yeah,
okay.
I do. And
okay.
I think the question is, well, whether you're mad about the status quo and you voted for Trump because Trump was a big, you know, middle finger to the establishment, and because Trump talked about policies that would mean large sweeping changes, or whether you're one of the people from the left wing who, you know, buys into the identity politic, or, you know, is the not my president kind of thing. So I think you see that across the political spectrum, where people are very unhappy with the status quo, and whether they have whether they want to burn the house down and have no idea to rebuild the house and then want to make things worse, or whether they want to fix the house and make things better. I think you see that across the political spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that things have kind of been coming to a head for differing reasons. Some good, some not good at all.
Neil made a comment here in the chat room that I find interesting. He says, USA has spent too many generations pushing democracy BS around the world, which is pure evil. No, that wasn't. That was Dave. You know, Neil.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Go ahead.
Neil said, I don't buy in democracy as pure evil. The forcing it on countries is. See, right there's a good debate right there. So
I would even argue, yeah, I would argue the point they're making, though, that I think at best you could argue that they're trying to push democracy, which I would not agree with that. I would agree with Dave.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can argue that they're trying to push democracy when you take a country like Syria, for example, and you try to overthrow the government they have, and you actually have the CIA, until Trump squashed this program, funding ISIS and terrorists, which they know that a lot of the Syrian, which they know out of the Syrian rebels comes those terrorist groups, and they know damn well they don't have anything better to replace what they have. So I don't think the idea is even to try to export democracies to other countries. I think it's to depose stubborn nationalists that get in the way of this, unipolar New World Order that we've had since the end of the Cold War, and to replace any kind of stubborn nationalists with any form of government or system, even if what you're replacing it means you're replacing it with forces, terrorism and forces that are against civilization. So I don't think that I might have 5 or 6 years ago fought the idea that they were trying to export democracy, which I didn't agree with then. Now I don't even think that's the goal, because what we've seen in recent years is if you have a government in the Middle East or in Russia, as imperfect as those other governments may be, if they're nationalist in their orientation, even if they provide stability and a reasonable standard of living for their people, and they're not trying to impose their will on the rest of the world, and they're more than willing to replace it with something much worse.
Well, let me ask you this:
wiping out potential competitors.
Okay, I for one. And, folks, you may or may not like this. It's up to you. But I, for one, think that we have been so busy, and they're talking about this in the chat room at American Patriot Radio site right now, AmericanPatriotRadio.com. I, for one, have believed that, we have spent so much time, as they're saying in the chat room, pushing democracy upon other countries of the world, that we have neglected the protection of democracy in our world. I think that we have neglected the whole idea that this country, based upon individual liberties, individual responsibilities, limited government, you go down the list and name it, that we have been so busy thinking about what's going on around the rest of the world, we have forgotten to protect the rights that we have right here by our Constitution today.
Yeah. Well, look, if you're always at war, if you're in a perpetual war, like this war against terrorism, which has no end date, whenever a country's at war, you tend to have a greater likelihood of having your constitutional rights and freedoms and liberties taken away from you. Right. You go hand in hand.
Well, I want, you just touched on the topic, and I want to go there. I was wanting to talk about traitors, or there's traitors among us now, and what makes the traitor. And, this kind this kind of goes into this, when I said that we've been so busy other places, we forgot about protecting our freedoms here. The question keeps coming up, and I've heard this and I've read it so many times, it's unreal. And when I was down at the State Guard thing this past weekend, somebody, a colonel, mentioned to me about, well, Bill, what, so many people are talking about how, our Confederate generals were traitors. And so we had just a few minutes and we talked about that a little bit, but this falls right in line with what we're talking about. And I also promoted we were going to talk about it too. So thank you, Brian. When did it become that you or I or Dave or anyone else in this country is a traitor if you stand up for what our Constitution tells us we should protect? For instance, let's go back to the Civil War. We know that's the greatest battle that was ever fought on this land, and particularly when you stop and consider it was all about, folks, it wasn't totally about slavery. Let me repeat that. It was not totally about slavery. Yes, slavery was part of the agenda, but more importantly, it was about states' rights. It was about our state rights. And, you know, we have gotten to the point now, Brian, that we have forgotten all about protecting ourselves here. We're so worried about doing things over there. And, you know, it was my understanding when our forefathers came together in Philadelphia, they were trying to come up with a way to ensure that you and I in our states, mainly you and I, were protected, that there was a set of laws that was going to go into effect to protect us, not just from foreign people, but from ourselves. And Lord knows how many people you know their greatest enemy is themselves, not someone else.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, I know so many people that if they would just get their heads screwed, I'm talking about smart individuals. I know a couple of ladies and gentlemen right now, they live pretty close to me too. I know a couple of ladies and gentlemen around this city, in this county, in this state. You know, you stop and you think about the things that people make them successful. You know, good looks, money, education, talent, resources, all that kind of stuff. But yet they don't take advantage of them. And then when you have a situation where, you know, at our Constitutional Convention, I'm going to take it way back. You know, at that event, a proposal was made to allow the federal government to suppress a seceding state. I believe it was James Madison, and you may have to correct me here, but I believe it was James Madison that said, that rejected that. The use of force against the state would look more like a declaration of war than an infliction of punishment. And all this kind of stuff, you know, when people are talking about, well, we need to protect the people, you know, we need to do this, we need to do that, you know, blah, 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 blah. Well, then we had these people that we called generals. Remember our generals in the Civil War? You know, people call them traitors. And, you know, I just don't understand, when did we become traitors if we stood up to protect the rights that was given to us under the Constitution? Again, folks, here, yeah, and here's the kicker on all this, folks. We are so worried about things that are happening overseas, we are not paying attention to what's happening here. Now, Brian, you know, I know how you feel about that, and I do believe there are things we need to be concerned about, and we should be part of the world.
Of course, I agree with that.
But I also agree with you and vehemently spout this out, folks. We got to take care of ourselves first, folks, because no one else is going to take care of us. If anything, they want to bring us down because we're different.
Bill, let me put it distinctly. I think we should always, we need to be part of the world. I don't think that the people running this country, with their delusions of grandeur, should try to dominate the rest of the world.
No.
That's my issue.
No.
Be a
No.
country, a republic, not an empire.
No.
Dominating the rest of the world. We should not try to behave like the British Empire or empires, in other eras or periods of time. We should be a country.
Brian, if we continue doing this,
realistically,
if we continue doing this, don't you think we're no better than the people that we're saying, well, isn't that what the other people are doing that we keep saying they shouldn't be doing? Aren't they trying to be the ones that take over Asia? They're trying to take over Europe to this day. How can we say we're any different?
And we can't. And that's why there needs to be constant pressure, and we need to narrative, we need to start looking at things realistically. Like, for example, whenever, the media has a panic attack because Russia, or Russia conducts a military exercise, or China does something with their military. Because when you look at it, we spend, I think it was accurate, more money than the next 11 countries combined on their military budget. Like Russia, this great enemy that we're supposed to have, well, they've been cutting their military budget each of the last 3 years. Okay, China has, I think, built one military base in Africa.
Yeah.
How many overseas military bases do we have? So there's a lot of hypocrisy there. I mean, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. And how can you, go and have a conniption every time Russia and China conduct a joint military exercise when, we're spending by far more money on our military than pretty much the rest of the world combined. When we have military bases everywhere overseas, when in the last year of Obama's presidency, you're bombing 7 different countries.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. When you just give Saudi Arabia, the biggest exporter, $100 billion in arms. I mean, why don't people ask these questions? Because for me, just common sense. It's just common. Like, wait a minute. We're trying to be a force for good. No. Oh, wait a minute. We signed a deal with the Saudis for $100 billion in arms. Oh, wait a minute. When Obama was president, we had a CIA program funding the Syrian rebels, knowing full well that the terrorists were coming out of those rebel groups.
Right. Well, we are so busy. Oh, Lordy. We are so busy, quote unquote, spreading democracy. We are forgetting to protect, and we are losing our democratic republic country, our nation. We're not doing it. Oh, well, every single day, all day long on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere, all over social media, and all of these so-called columnists and reporters. I mean, they are showing you, how democratic and republic and how we really act, aren't they?
The media is just a disgrace. I mean, I don't know if these people are just hacks and they just sold their soul, taking their 30 pieces of silver, or if they're stupid, or a bunch of cowards. I can't make up my mind which of the three it is, or if it's some combination of all three. But the media in this country, it's just a disgrace. I mean, really. I mean, if you want to figure out what's really going on, read any story that they're putting out there on any issue, and the exact opposite of what they're telling you is probably closer to the truth than what they're reporting.
Yeah. Well, there's an organization out there right now, Brian, that I'm somewhat active with, the Society of Professional Journalism. And this group, which is composed of what I would classify as true journalists, true commentary, who are actively fighting for the a free and open press. They are taking heat from other people out there because they're wanting to have a real journalistic nature out there instead of all this fake news. And they're taking heat from all of those, and I say bring it on. And SPJ, as far as I'm concerned, you guys and gals, you're doing great. You keep it up, and thank you for trying to police the journalists in this country and those idiotics out there that say they are. But see, a lot of people didn't even know that organization exists because, they don't send out stuff to normal people. They send it out to journalists and, people that are involved in this type of work. And, and they chastise those people that they know that, are spreading fake news. They chastise those that don't support open records, freedom of the press, and things like that. And so, you know, we need more organizations like that that stand up for the Constitution than those that are worried about making a buck because they get this one story that may be true, may not be true, but yet they get paid good dollars to print it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. But there needs to be more of that. But I mean, we're so poorly served by our media. You know, even a lot of the media on the internet is pretty much disgraceful.
Oh.
You know, and I don't know if these people are, you know, I don't know. Maybe, and I'm beginning to think a lot of these people just have severe psychological issues, especially when you actually hear some of these people being interviewed on TV or whatever, or on videos on the internet. They just seem like they're psychologically impaired. And it's like they want to project their psychoses and whatever their mental illness is in life. They want to blame it all and project it all onto Trump.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, you know, Dave said something here. Yeah. Dave said something in the chat room. He says they're script readers, nothing more. And Dave, I have to tell you that's pretty true on a lot of them. You know, you can tell the ones that are reading a script because you know, they're looking right at that camera or that not the camera, but the, you know what I'm talking about. Oh gosh, I'm having trouble this morning at the screen. You know, they're looking right at that, and you can tell by the words they're using and the manner they're speaking that is not. You watch them when they're just chatting amongst each other. They sound like totally different people. When they start talking about a story and they're looking right at you, well, they're not looking at you, they're looking at the screen, and they're reading what they're talking about. And that's a shame that they have to do that. But you know what? At least it keeps them on track, I guess. But sometimes it's good to get off track. It's good to say what you want to say, what you want to mean. And then later on, you'll be in trouble with your boss because you didn't stick to script. But, you know, that's beside the point. It's aggravating. It's aggravating.
I don't know. I think it's a little more than that. Like that, you know, imbecile Kurt Eichenwald from Newsweek. I saw a clip on YouTube of him being interviewed by Tucker Carlson after the election.
Yeah.
He saw this guy, something ain't right with him. Then it turns out that the guy's into, like, I think, reading, like, into all kinds of weird pornography and child porn.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you, a lot of these people, Bill, there's something not right with them.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just they've been brainwashed. There's something off about these people. I don't know. You know, if I had kids, I wouldn't want them near my kids.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Brian, I really do wish. Yeah, I really do wish that my career would blossom to the size that I would have to worry about what they do and say, you know, sitting there beside them, just to see what it would be like to be told what to talk about every morning, to be told what not to talk about. Now, pay attention to this script when it comes up on the reader. You know, you read it, you know, don't make any comments, don't vary. Man, you know me, I would have a very hard time sticking to script. Oh, it'd be impossible.
One source of information is on the internet that he tends to break more news than anybody else. And he actually is, you'd asked me for a while ago, he's one of the people on Twitter, I read his stuff. And this guy he must have incredible sources. It's Mike Cernovich. I mean, he breaks more news and he's got better insight into what's going on than just about anybody else I've read. I mean, he'll predict something that's going to happen, and it happens a month later, and like the New York Times will take credit for it.
Yeah.
But this guy really, he's one of the people I feel that really tries to accurately get the news. He, of course, is more of a pro-Trump guy than most, but he breaks more news than anybody else, and he does it on his Twitter feed. But you know what? You can laugh at it and say, well, it's Twitter, but it's like, you know, I don't see the New York Times breaking the amount of news this guy does or accurately predicting what's going to happen the way this guy does.
Yeah.
So,
well,
maybe this guy actually works for a living and isn't lazy.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, now, you know, a lot of that comes, people that do that kind of thing are independent. You know, like all of us on American Patriot Radio, we have the ability to do our own thing. We have the ability to talk about our own topics, what we want to talk about. We do our own research. We do our own investigations. And I think that is something that those with networks don't have the ability to do. As Dave said earlier, someone else does all that. They give it to them and they talk about it as if they know what they're talking about. And
they have agendas.
I'm sorry.
And they have agendas.
And they got agendas. Yes. Yes.
For example, they have an agenda they want to get across. Or anything that doesn't, agree with the agenda they're trying to promote, whether it's accurate or not, they don't put it out there. Like Wasserman Schultz, the IT worker that got arrested going back to Pakistan. I mean, it was a black hole with the establishment media. It was like a tree falling in the middle of the forest. They didn't report on it. They just tried to, it's not that they whitewash it. They just didn't say anything about it, like as if it never happened.
Yeah.
Because they have an agenda. The agenda fouls Trump. So if they put out any kind of story that makes, God forbid, the chair of the DNC look bad, then that distracts away from their main agenda, which is to have a coup and replace Trump.
Now, I'll give you an example. This morning, I was listening to Coffee with Candy this morning while I was getting ready. And I heard Candy say she did not care for Trump. I think she says, I'm not sure exactly the word she used, but it was very obvious she's not a Trump fan. And I've said it many, many, many times on air that, Trump was not my first choice. And, and I have very mixed emotions about Trump. But both of us said one thing that is a huge difference. He's our president. He is our president. And now then we got to work with him, around him, through him, but we got to work and we got to hope the best and support him where he is right and let him know when we think he's wrong. And we do that. Lord help me, I know that because I get chastised every day from people. I can't believe you said that about Trump. Well, I can't believe Trump said what he said. And so on and so forth. We go back and forth. And, I don't care if it's party politics. I don't care if it's about money. I don't care if it's about taxes. I don't care if it's about health care. I don't care if it's about defense, Russia, energy, any of those things. None of us at any time are going to agree 100% on it. But all of us should have the right and the ability to express our opinions.
Yeah.
And then it's up to the people in Washington to decide what they're going to do with those opinions.
And I think it's stupid to line up behind anybody 100% of the time. That's kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm.
You get more of what you want when you fight for what you want, and you don't say, my guy's in office, so I'm going to act like we're in a dictatorship and just agree with him or support him 100% no matter what he does for 4 or 8 years.
Well, let me ask you, Brian, is it more important to fight for what you want or fight for what is right?
Well, I guess most people would argue that fighting for what you want is fighting for what's right.
The quagmire expands. There are those out there that believe, really do, and you can't chastise them about it if they really believe it. They have in their mind that whatever they believe is right is right.
Right. That's how a lot of people feel.
Yeah.
The obvious answer is to fight for what's right. But most people feel whatever they're fighting for and what they want is the right thing. Whether they are or aren't.
Well, do you believe that there's a time in the process that you believe that maybe if I gave you some of what you believe is right, I agree with you and go along with you on this, and and you believe that some of this over here is right, maybe we can help each other. I'll help you get some of that through. You help me get some of this through. You see anything wrong with that?
I think as long as you're not compromising your principles.
Key word. You've been listening to me on the American Patriot Radio. Principle. You can compromise on policy. You cannot compromise your principle, folks. And that's where I draw the line.
And I think there's a fine line or a big difference between wanting a loaf of bread and getting half a loaf of bread.
Mm-hmm.
Between that and just really compromising your integrity.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a difference between the two. I think that's, you know, one of the frustrating things sometimes with these people, that I see with a lot of people in the Republican establishment. I mean, in the end, supposedly, you know, if they're really truly conservative or somewhat conservative, they're going to get, you know, a lot more what they want with Trump than anybody else. But apparently, because they seem to want Trump out of office as much as the Democrats do, that's not the case.
Mm-hmm. So you think Trump is very conservative?
I'll tell you what, I think it's probably governing more conservatively than pretty much anybody else that would have gotten into office.
Mm-hmm.
Could have gotten that any other candidate that he ran against. I
Mm-hmm.
think he's probably running on balance, probably more conservative than any of the others, which is the irony, because we've been told he wasn't a true conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Although I look at Trump more as a populist,
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of conservative features than a quote unquote, you know, conservative like the Freedom Caucus type of deal, or Rand Paul.
Would you agree with me that if someone is an independent, that does not necessarily mean that he's not conservative?
Yes, I would totally agree with that.
Would you believe in me if I said that just because you're independent doesn't mean that you're a hard rock Democrat?
Correct.
Thank you very much. Folks, an independent can have a political stance, but he's also in a position where he believes that I should be able to float back and forth and vote and act on what I believe is right. Principle.
Yeah. And I think, you know, again, I think he's a populist conservative, but I think he's done a lot of things that conservatives should be happy with. Pulling out of the Paris Climate Accords, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, although a lot of people that claim to be conservatives like globalization, powerful trade deals.
Right.
I mean, enforcing immigration laws, the Supreme Court justice, you know, removing a lot of the environmental regulation. I mean, these are things that you would think, you know, a lot of conservatives would like. The tax reform he's proposing, you know, just it all depends on how you conservatism. The thing is, conservatism over the last 25 years has included, you know, belligerent militarism. It's included open borders, and it's included these horrific trade deals. And to what's becoming very clear now, or should be if it hasn't, is that a lot of elements in the Republican Party that call themselves conservatism, they don't believe in the concept of a nation state. They believe in globalization. If you don't believe in the concept of a nation state, I don't know what it is you're hoping to conserve.
Okay.
I mean, how can you say you believe in small government and lower taxes when you believe ultimately in a global government? I mean, that's the biggest form of government imaginable. That's the biggest bureaucracy imaginable. I mean, just look at the European Union, the bureaucracy there. You have an unelected bureaucracy making a lot of decisions for the rest of the EU members. And you got a lot of people in the Republican Party, again, don't believe in borders. Think these trade deals are, you know, greatest thing ever. Love all the wars. Really don't believe in the concept of a nation.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're conservative, but you really, by your actions, don't believe in the concept of nations.
Okay.
So what are you hoping to conserve? You're not hoping to conserve American values or the Constitution because you don't believe in the concept of America, because you don't believe in the concept of nation.
Okay. Well, I want to do this, Brian, real quick. You know, I named a few things off a while ago about some of the challenges that we're going to be facing here in the near future when Congress comes back into session. Okay. I want to go down through here and on a couple of these and get your input on how these are controversial, and that how some of these Democrats and Republicans alike, conservatives, liberals alike, may have a wrong picture of what's going on. Now, first of all, we got to admit that Republicans are in charge, technically. Okay, I'm not going to say they are, but you know they should be. Okay, they have yet to prove that to me, that they are in charge and they know what they want and then they're going to get what they want. So let's just look at this. We got in the September agenda there's going to be a couple of things that come up that involves money. Okay. Some people feel, hey, we're looking at increasing the government's debt limit to prevent a horrific, in my opinion, federal default, and also they're in favor of passing a temporary spending bill to avert a government shutdown. Okay, we're all aware of that, correct? Okay. Now, in reality, there's a lot of Republicans that I think that just cannot bring themselves to the idea of backing a new debt limit boost. I just don't think they're in favor of doing that. But they are the ones in charge. Okay, they're the ones that run the government. They're the ones whose responsibility it is to get votes on these issues. Democrat support is going to be important on this. They're going to have it if they're going to pass these bills. In some hopes, there will be some concessions given on different things that will bring us all about. So, if you have this take place, and if someone gives in, are they being disrespectful, dishonest, unloyal to their party if they work together and come up with a solution? Because there's no agreement right now on what's going to happen. And so that's one of the big issues that's coming up. I'm sorry?
Yeah, maybe not necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, I think that, I think a lot of times what conservatives get wrong is that most of the people are more concerned about creating jobs and about, whether they have a good job and they take care of their family rather than whether the debt limit's increased or not, or what the budget, what or how big the budget is.
All right, let me ask you this right there, Brian. Right there is a good point. Now I'm going to throw this factor in. All right, what if the decision comes on doing that and people have to make a choice, either worrying about the economy and people's investments, their income, their jobs, things like that, or the wall?
Well, I would argue that the wall and border security helps the economy, because then employers don't have an abundant supply of cheap labor. They got to hire Americans, and they're going to have to offer higher wages. So I think the two go hand in hand. And by the way, not to get off topic, but walls do work. There's a wall around the Vatican. They have a big border fence around Hungary. So you don't have that, migrant invasion affecting Hungary. So, barriers do work. So whether people agree with it or not, there is proof that it works. Just take a look at Hungary. Compare Hungary to, say, Italy. You can't say that it doesn't work. It works. And I would argue that a strict border security and a wall is good for the economy.
Does it have to be a physical wall?
Well, physical walls have been shown to work. Again, look at Hungary. They want to keep the economic refugees out of the country, and they build a wall, which we're told walls don't work, right? A lot of these people say walls don't work. You just build a big ladder, but whatever they do in Hungary, it's worked. How many illegals or refugees come into the Vatican?
Well, how many people have a fence around their yard?
Yeah. So if the fence doesn't work, why would somebody have a fence? Why would, if walls and gates and fences don't work? I'm sure Bill Gates, I'm sure George Soros, I'm sure the Koch brothers have a physical barrier around their property. So if it doesn't work, why would they have it?
Well, I agree with a lot of people that have said this over and over again, and I know Neil has said it. Several other people in the past and present say it, that, I don't believe that we need a quote-unquote brick and mortar physical wall everywhere. I think technology is good enough that can be handled in so many areas, so many different ways. I just don't feel that's that necessary. But I'm not the expert.
Feasible, I would put it. And here's the thing I would say to people that disagree with the wall. Now, if you're saying a wall in certain parts is not feasible, yeah, I mean, physically it might not be.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's feasible, I would put it. And I'll tell you one big reason why is because, okay, look, what we've seen so far is that Trump is going to enforce the immigration laws.
Mm-hmm.
So you could argue that, yeah, if you had Donald Trump for the next 50 years, you might not need a physical wall because he'll make sure that there's, enough ICE agents or Border Patrol guards, at the border, and they have enough resources.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you get, in 2020, a president who doesn't believe in the concept of border security? Then they cut the funding for Border Patrol guards and for money and resources, and the borders assist.
Mm-hmm.
But if you build the wall's there, whoever's the president.
Yeah. Okay.
That's important to consider, because if you get the wrong president and you don't build a physical barrier, well, then what's to stop the flow from coming across the border?
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to have something there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Let me ask you this. You have an option. Now, this is hypothetical, and we're running short on time here, so I'm going to have to hurry. This is hypothetical. If money was the problem, and let's say that Congress decides they've got to watch the money. They've set a dollar amount. We cannot exceed this. Priorities. Taxes, healthcare, defense, Russia, energy, expiring programs. We got a ton of programs that are about to expire, like Children's Health Insurance Program. Federal Aviation Administration's got a lot of programs that's under attack. There's just a lot of different things out there. Don't you think that we are near impossible to address each and every one of these things and the totality that people are asking for, that we're going to have to make some changes somewhere, some compromise, cutbacks on some of it, improve maybe part of the program or anything? Don't you think we're really going to have to do that? Because we cannot fund everything out there that they're asking for.
Yeah, and they do that all the time. They do that, but hey, we were talking about this before with the budget.
Mm-hmm.
So insulting was, they were chanting "build the wall" when Trump ran. That's one of his promises.
Right.
You get a Republican Congress, and he has funding for Planned Parenthood, but not to build a wall.
Mm-hmm.
So, and by the way, building a wall, to me, it's about national security and the economy. It's about two things. It's not about one. And it's about
Absolutely.
Promise.
Absolutely.
I mean, so yeah, what you're saying is true. You're not going to be able to get everything, but I think people should see that that you're keeping your promises and there's the good faith.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're not going to build the whole wall, but you really should have enough funding to at least build part of it to get a down payment on it, and not have you don't get any of that, or you're only getting funding to maintain what's there, but you're getting funding for Planned Parenthood, which is like spitting in your eye.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that I think that they're going to be looking at doing, first of all, is I hope they have the head on their shoulders and there's something between the ears that reminds them that our defense is number one. And that I hope that they will do what they say. They say that they're going to come back in September. They're going to get this defense bill worked out. They're going to get it on the ground. They're going to get it voted on. It's going to go to work, blah, 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 blah. And so, defense has got to be taken care of. That's number one, folks, as far as I'm concerned.
But I would argue the best thing to do for defense, the national defense, is to build a border wall.
Mm-hmm.
And not spending more on your military than the next 11 countries combined. Okay.
Well, I've got a load of follow-up questions on that. We'll have to do it in the morning, Brian. Okay. Yeah, but I got, defense. I want to make that a priority this week to have some talk about that. So anyway, well, listen, dude, thank you for.
Food for thought.
Yes.
Maybe tomorrow you'll
yeah.
Food for thought. Yes, of course we need money on military expense. But, I mean, at what point is enough money enough money? I mean, if we're spending more than the next 11 countries combined and our supposed dreaded enemies, Russia and China, it's not even close.
Mm-hmm.
And we have military bases everywhere.
Well, you know, I'll just throw this in real quick, Brian.
Yeah.
Maybe we're spending money where we don't need to.
Right. I mean, and I guess the question, and so the question I was going to ask is, I mean, are we ever going to be able to spend enough money on military, on our military defense, or is it just that, no matter how much money we're spending on our military defense, it's never going to be enough, even though it dwarfs any other country in the world, even China and Russia, it's not even close. I mean, at what point do we start asking the question a different way? Instead of looking at it like, the defense is getting the shaft, we should start looking at, well, wait a minute. Nobody else is even in the same stratosphere as we are in terms of military spending. So when is enough enough? Yeah.
Brian, I want you to come back tomorrow morning because we're going to talk about defense tomorrow. How's that?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. All right, folks. Well, I tell you what. All right. We have a lot to talk about in the Pickle Barrel this week, and there is no letting up. I mean, seriously, we can fill 12 hours a day and still not have enough time to talk about everything we need to talk about and find possible solutions to it. But we're going to give an attempt every day here in the Pickle Barrel and at AmericanPatriotRadio.com. I want to thank all of you for being here this morning. I want you to share the link to today's program to everyone you know. Invite everyone you know to come over to AmericanPatriotRadio.com and join us and become part of us. And we have so many things out there that y'all can listen to and participate in. Dave, why don't you bring them up to date on what we have? And, folks, I'll see you tomorrow here in the Pickle Barrel.
All right, Bill, will do. You're listening to, of course, AmericanPatriotRadio.com. Coming up later on, Kids Corner, Happy Hour, Jeff Skull's Golden Age Radio, and then, of course, programs throughout the entire evening as well. Lots of new shows still yet to come and added to the schedule. We're not that far off, folks, before we start talking about our holiday extravaganzas that begin in October. So stay tuned right here. You don't want to miss a single minute. And don't forget, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and now YouTube.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Folks, y'all have a great day. I'm on my way to Columbia. We'll see y'all tomorrow here in the Pickle Barrel at 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Let all your friends know. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. You've been in the Pickle Barrel with author, speaker, commentator, and show host Bill Pickle. You are listening to American Patriot Radio.